This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Hello and welcome to CGTN's special program on the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway in Indonesia, co-produced with Indonesia's national broadcaster TVRI World. I'm Li Qiuyuan in Beijing.
Hi, I'm Siska Becker, greeting you from Jakarta for TVRI World's special dialogue in collaboration with CGTN.
Indonesia now has Southeast Asia's first bullet train. The Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway stretches 142 kilometers on Java Island. The flagship Belt and Road project is the first overseas high-speed railway made completely with Chinese railway systems, technologies, and industrial components. CGTN's Xu Xinchen and TVRI World's Audrey Aitoyo were among the first to travel on the new line.
Welcome on board this special program with CGTN and TVRI World. I am CGTN's Xu Xinchen.
And I'm TVRI World's Audrey Aitoyo.
And Audrey, we're at a very special place, isn't it?
Yes, we are. We are currently at Halim Station, Xinchen, one of the stations on the route of the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed train. It connects the very busy capital of Jakarta with the city of Bandung.
And I've heard Bandung is also a very popular tourist city and the fourth largest city in Indonesia. This railway link spans over 140 kilometers, 142 kilometers to be more specific, and the train can travel at a top speed of 350 kilometers per hour.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and also there are tons of technology loaded on the train, on the rail, and to be more specific here on this specific rail, it's also equipped with earthquake monitoring system.
Wow.
And let's do not wait. Try to get on board one of the trains.
Let's go in.
Let's go.
Choo-choo.
Welcome on board.
Welcome on board. This is the high-speed railway train between Jakarta and Bandung.
Fantastic, and it looks just like the trains that I've been used to back in China, the same high-speed train technology. How do you like it?
Yes, me too. Actually, I've also been on a high-speed train in China from Xi'an to Chengdu and back, and I would say this is quite similar.
Absolutely, and the same smooth ride that we're expecting here. And I've heard, actually, Indonesia has one of the most integrated transportation systems in the world, but of course, still the congestion is an issue, right?
Yeah, it is definitely an issue, Xinchen. That's why people here during the weekends, especially Jakartans, we usually go out of the city.
Finally, we're sitting here.
Finally, we're sitting here, Xinchen.
But do you know the train runs fully on electricity?
What?
Yeah.
No way.
No emission.
No emission?
Yes, very, very highly efficient.
Wow.
And of course, because of the electricity helps the train run this fast, actually.
So not only is it faster, more efficient, but it's also sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely, and there are tons of great technologies on board, sensors and whatnot, but more specific to the high-speed rail here in Indonesia. It has sensors to really detect earthquakes because, you know, Indonesia is prone to earthquakes.
That's true,
Yeah.
yes. So I love that everything is already taken into consideration for this high-speed railway. And you know, Xinchen, there are also so many collaboration between the private sectors and the governments from so many years ago just to have this happen. And it is also a staple project under the Belt and Road Initiative, a China-led globalization that is entering its 10th year now.
Absolutely. This year marks the 10th anniversary for the Belt and Road Initiative and, of course, a comprehensive strategic partnership established between China and Indonesia. However, there has been debates surrounding this project because it's large, a lot of money involved. And a lot of people have been questioning about repayment difficulties or about China giving out such a big loan for such a large infrastructure. And earlier, we actually collected questions from Indonesian college students. They have questions about the Belt and Road as well, and I've brought them to the Chinese ambassador to Indonesia, Liu Khan, and now let's take a look to see how he answers to these questions.
Let's take a look.
The first question is about China's investment and the lending to developing nations like Indonesia, especially in the face of potential repayment difficulties. So what criteria or guarantees does the Chinese government seek prior to making investments?
I agree with you, it's a good question. But I think we have to bear in mind a bigger picture of all the strategies of developing countries like Indonesia. I have to say that for all developing countries, it is still the top priority to develop for almost all the developing countries, that they are in lack of financial resources. So as a matter of fact, it is for all governments of all developing countries to decide what kind of projects they most need and what kind of financing schemes they would prefer. We have to have the confidence in the wisdom, political wisdom of all governments and the people of the developing countries to make their best choice. For all the financial arrangements, why more and more countries would prefer China's loans? There are two reasons. First, there has never been any political preconditions attached. Secondly, on average, in comparison with the interest rates of most of the other private loaners or multilateral financial institutions, actually their interest rate, average interest rate, are just twice of that of China's loans. So let's have the confidence of the governments of those countries.
Wow, that's a lot of investment as well as effort put into this project.
Absolutely, but the potential is huge. Not only will the high-speed train link reduce travel time, but also creating some 30,000 jobs. That's just based on some preliminary estimates.
That's really amazing. 30,000 jobs. Wow. And you know, earlier today, I also spoke with a train expert to get their insight on what it would be to have this high-speed train and the benefits for Indonesia. Let's take a look. Very interesting. We have come into a time where we are now entering the stage where the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed train is finally here. And my question, almost operation. My first question to you, Pa, regarding this project is, what do you think are the benefits of this project of the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Rail, especially to the Indonesian people?
Yes, first of all, Audrey, I would like to emphasize that the operation of Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Train is an important milestone for the development of Indonesian railways. Why? Because it means that the Indonesian railways will enter the era of the high-speed technology railways. It is a significant achievement in my opinion. And also, Indonesia will be the first country in Southeast Asia region that operates the high-speed train. So I think it will improve the image and the credibility of the Indonesian railways. And I think for the Indonesian people, especially for the people who make traveling between Jakarta and Bandung, I think this high-speed train will provide more values for them.
And now let's hand things over to Siska in Jakarta to get the Indonesian perspectives on the high-speed railway. Siska.
Thank you so much, Xu Yuan, for the introduction. Let me start my conversation by introducing our guest speakers. Today in the studio, we have Fatan Sembiring, the chairman of Indonesia and China Alumni and Cooperation. Hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course, it's our pleasure. And also we have Ms. Christine Susana Chin, Director of Strategic Communication and Research of Association at Gentala Institute. Hello, Mbak Christine.
Hi, Siska. Nice to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
I would love to hear maybe some insights from your colleagues and your fellow alumni. What is the sentiment in China itself about this mega project between Indonesia and China?
Yeah, China is very proud, about the technology that they are having, that they are currently exporting to worldwide, especially because China has altered their economic backbone from the manufacturing industry to the service industry. And the service industry not only about providing service itself, but also to put the innovation within the manufactured goods, right? I mean, unfortunately, I haven't tried the high-speed train in Jakarta to Bandung, but we've already tried a lot of times during our study time in China, and it was really nice. And then I should try the Jakarta to Bandung very soon, and hopefully the quality is the same. Yes. And then everything is the same. I mean, the standard is the same, and then that's. I mean, there has to be pros and cons about this project, a high-speed railway project. But if we are seeing it into the brighter minds, and then seeing the future of Indonesia, capability of providing its people for better high-speed or better mass transportation methods, I think this is the exact way to learn from the best, right? I mean, seeing the Western companies like the Elon Musk himself, and then the other Western companies that they are trying to introduce the Hyperloop system, but then, hey, where is it? Where's the network of Hyperloop? You know, like from Dubai to wherever they are going, from New York to San Francisco in 3 hours. I mean, come on. I mean, there is this high-speed railway network that China is currently leading. Of course, there are Japan and Korean counterparts, or even German. But then, if we are talking Indonesia and China, this is the exact moment and exact topic that Indonesian engineers can really learn from. And the other thing that should be more interesting for Indonesian engineers, or in Indonesian, sort of intellectuals to study more, is about learning to be the system providers for electric vehicles, rather than only becoming consumers for the imported electric vehicles. And then, of course, we export the raw materials after the processing. But then, if we are talking about the ecosystem of the electric vehicle, Indonesia can also learn from China or from other countries that has the technologies that we can build ourselves for the system, not only the hardware.
That is why transfer of technology has always been an important factor from our government when initiating cooperation with other countries. Now, Ms. Christine, I want to push even more about the topic of the high-speed train between Indonesia and China, because this is so monumental for Indonesia. This is the first high-speed train in Southeast Asia. Do you think this will open up for more possibilities of cooperation, especially in mass transportation between Indonesia and China?
You have to remember as well that this will also be China's first in Southeast Asia. And for China, it's also important because this is a prestige project, in a sense that no longer people look at made in China product as this cheap, sort of like mass-produced, durable, and then now it's a high-tech, it's green, and it's smart. And we're quite lucky in a sense because we are developing this high-speed train in a moment where the smart technology is already in. So combining that with our thinking about developing smart governance and clean governance in Indonesia, there is definitely potential to pursue here, definitely, because I think it's absurd to think that we're only going to stop with Bandung. The whole idea is to connect Indonesia all over the place, not even just in Java. I mean, who knows, with the development of innovation and technology, not just in China, but probably somewhere else, because China is also, for example, cooperating with Germany in developing their high-speed train technology, Siemens. And So, you know, with the development of innovation and technology and cross-border cooperation, who knows that high-speed train can even cross islands, as, you know, our previous president, Sukarno, has always dreamt about, connecting Indonesia's many beautiful islands with sort of like transportations that goes beyond water and air, but also sort of like land. So this is definitely something that we're looking forward to. And there are, of course, a lot of challenges we face with the pandemic, with a lot of the domestic situations as well, and there are a lot of lessons learned from there. So I'm hoping that in the future, when we expand this network, we can always take lessons that we have taken, that we have gone through before, and continue the development in a better and even sort of like speedier momentum for us.
How is actually the condition and status of Indonesia's and China's bilateral relationship right now in 2023?
We have seen a lot of great progresses in the past decades in bilateral relations. I mean, from the statistics we see from the trade relations, now that China is our biggest trading partner, and also from the investment area, China is now number 2, if not number 1, depending if you see the first quarter data. China at one point jumped to number 1, but now in general it's number 2. And can you imagine before 2015, China was even nowhere in the top 10. And now suddenly China is already number 2. So we've seen a lot of great progress. And of course there are ups and downs, but we definitely have gone through a lot together. And I'm very optimistic about the future of these bilateral relations.
About the Belt Road Initiative campaign by Mr. Xi Jinping, Mas Fatan, maybe you can add about how do you think Indonesia can benefit from this campaign to accelerate Indonesia's development and also the relationship between Indonesia and China?
Yeah, sure. One of which that China is currently offering in terms of this Belt and Road Initiative is the advancement of technology, especially what we are going to see and what we are seeing in high-speed railway networks that already built and then already operated in Jakarta to Bandung and back and forth, right?
Yes.
I mean, one of which that Indonesia still needs to learn from China is that kind of technology that we desperately need, especially in recent days. Jakarta is heavily polluted. You know, the air pollution is quite a discussion.
Yes, it's been one of the major concerns.
So that's why. In these terms, China is, China can be the source for the technology that Indonesia probably needs for a better mass transportation in the future, and one of which is a high-speed railway, and then also for the electric bus that we've also seeing a lot of Chinese-made. Chinese manufacturers brands for electric bus in Jakarta.
There you go, our guest speakers, Fatan Sembiring, Chairman of Indonesia-China Alumni and Cooperation, and Ms. Christine Susana Chin, Director of Strategic Communication and Research of Association of Gentala Institute. And that is the end of my conversation with my guest speakers. Thank you so much for all the insights once again, and thank you for joining us. And now I'll hand it back to you, to the studio in Beijing, to Chiu Yuan.
Now here in the Beijing studio with us to discuss the landmark project under the Belt and Road Initiative, I'm joined by Professor Liu Zhixin, a Senior Fellow at the Chongyang Institute for Financial Studies at Renmin University of China, and Mr. Einar Tengen, a Political and Economics Affairs Commentator and Taihe Institute Senior Fellow. Great to have both of you with us on the program. So let's talk about the railway. This is one of the busiest world corridor. We're talking about bullet train. It's finally happening in Indonesia, a massive project costing about $7 billion US. It's going to cut travel time between Jakarta and Bandung from 3 to 5 hours to just 36 minutes. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. We're talking about the next generation, fast, rapid, and efficient connectivity in Indonesia now. What kind of fresh opportunities will this bring to Indonesia and its people? Einar first.
Well, obviously, all the enthusiasm that you're stating. No, I mean, it's very important. Connectivity. This is really the Belt and Road Initiative, ASEAN working, RCEP. It's all kind of coming together. You cannot develop your nation if you don't have the connectivity, the infrastructure that's there. So the first country outside of China to have this high-speed rail, entirely Chinese high-speed rail. And very interesting background. It was a big competition with Japan, and China won by, in essence, offering to do the project without sovereign guarantees. Very important. And they also offered to make it a joint development project by having a joint venture to assemble cars. So China is on this. This is really just the first link. There's another series of links that they hope will connect the entire island, because it's a very long, fairly narrow island. Having that fast rail will make a huge difference to business.
And this is the first bullet train in Southeast Asian countries. I mean, and the train can run up to 350 kilometers per hour. Only a handful of countries can do that, and now Indonesia has one. We're talking about the cutting edge technology there. What kind of competitiveness would that add to Indonesia in this region and beyond?
I think many people in Indonesia told me that they have realized their dream that to have a high-speed railway, because there's so many people came to China. They know that how functioning that Chinese high-speed railway. They always dreamed that to have one similar in Indonesia. Now the dream is realized, so they were so happy. I think they will have received comprehensive benefits from this project. First, I think they get to know that many connections with the outside, and especially in this region, that to show their capability. Even this railway built with the help from China, but without the Indonesians' help and the technical assistance, this project cannot be realized. So that's why they show their ability and the capability, increased their own confidence and trust to their own technology. This is very important.
You know, I'd like to add, there's really important thing. Europe and America don't have this. So this represents a middle-tier developing country actually leapfrogging, all right, the supposed developed countries. I mean, Japan obviously has it, but this is really a landmark for a country that, sees itself in the middle, still emerging.
This is financed through a Chinese loan, free from Indonesian state budget, and part of the reason why, as you mentioned, China won the bid over Japan. I guess this is where the talk of debt trap comes in.
Well, there's no debt trap here.
Talk to us about it. Western media has long been portraying the Belt and Road Initiative as the debt trap, inducing unsustainable debt burden for hosting countries.
Let's be frank here. This is the same countries that are saying, oh, you just are slow people. You should just be happy, doing, minor things because that's all you're capable of. And that's not true. These countries are the fastest developing segment of the world. If you look at ASEAN right now, all right, it far outstrips developed nations in terms of its GDP growth year after year. We're not talking about 1 year or 2 years. We're talking about over the last 10 years. So these are countries that are ready to develop, and these are the opportunities that are being offered. In terms of what happened, in the beginning, China was doing with country-to-country loans. So it was government to government. And they discovered that that was difficult because when the government changed on the other side, they would tend to say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. And it became a political issue. Now what you start to have is the government is doing on project loan basis. So this is a project loan which is financed based on the viability of the project itself. So the Indonesian government doesn't have to carry it. They don't have to guarantee the loan. It's very, very important in terms of maneuvering around the Japanese bid, which said, no, you have to give us a sovereign guarantee. That would have been debt trap diplomacy if it had happened, but no one would have said that because it was a Japanese loan. So, it seems a double standard. Anything anyone else does or doesn't do is fine. All right? But if China does it, all of a sudden it's suspect.
Well, China skeptics are hard to please. Anything that China does tends to be viewed in negative light. Indonesia has this infrastructure focus rolled out by President Joko Widodo, and that kind of align with China's Belt and Road Initiative, right? How do they come together?
I think they will do it according to the local conditions. As we always say that the Belt and Road Initiative should be in line with the local conditions that also within China's capability. So this is the best way that for both sides. We do not want to have the so-called technical embargo or technical dominating all the project. We always consult and negotiate, discuss with in our partner, including Indonesia's partner, in order to get not only approval, but also try to train the people in locally, when later they can do the same projects in the same ways. So this is what we want to show, that China's different way of helping other countries. This is really the best chance.
And I want to emphasize this. China is doing technology transfer. They're setting up a joint venture with an Indonesian company to create the rolling stock. Those skills can be done for the other parts of the rail that are going to be created. So as part of that, they're going to transfer the technology. When the U.S. say, "Oh, you don't, no, you can't transfer the technology. That's ours. You've got to, I don't know what they're thinking. You can sell things, but you can't. No one can know how they're made, or something like this." In any event, it's a very, very marked difference, and one that is very, very important to these developing countries. They don't want to be shut out in terms of IP. And right now, China is the only one, major power, that is saying, yes, we are happy to share.
And it's not only with Indonesia. I mean, for other countries in Southeast Asia, enhancing efficiency and sustainability of their transport systems seem to be a common priority. What kind of useful experiences could this project offer to other similar projects in the region?
I think the basic is that the awareness, or we call it this honest attitude towards this developing country, to our partners here. Because we have different ways in the world to build up such project or to help other countries. One is the Western style, the other is the Chinese style. We now try to show our style in this project, because equality is the basic requirement for all. And nowadays, I think we find new projects and also different projects in different ways. And also in other countries, not only in Indonesia, we find equality to make the people feel very reliable, very comfortable, and very trustful to you. In this way, that we can have a closely discussion, technical exchanges, and also the standardization of this all project. And transparent is another way that for both sides. We give that all these things that they want to know. We do not want to hide anything in secrets. So just like something like chips now embargoed by the Western. Yeah. So this is the big difference. When you are talking about with this Indonesia and other countries in this region, they always have the similar idea, similar feeling, that they said Chinese are more reliable, transparent, honest. We can discuss everything. Everything is possible through discussion.
And in concrete terms, that means that these are going to be looked at as project by project. So are they feasible? And that is the issue. Debt is not an issue as long as it's creating wealth, a return. So China has switched to this, and this is going to be very, very important throughout the Belt and Road, because they're not giving money to a country. What they're doing is says, this project makes sense. It's not only part of your infrastructure, it's not only linked up, but it will return the money that is necessary so that more projects can be done. And that kind of evergreen approach, very, very powerful. And it'll do away with this debt trap diplomacy.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, for discussing the importance of this new railway under the Belt and Road Initiative framework. Appreciate your insights as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of this special program on the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway, co-produced with TVRI World.
So that's the end of our special dialogue in collaboration with CGTN. We hope that you enjoyed the show.
And on behalf of the team here in Beijing, thank you for watching, and bye for now.